My name is Sarah Paulem.
My name's Joyce.
My name is Wendy.
My name is Patricia.
My name is Violet.
So my name is J.R. Guo.
My name is Kaylin.
My name is Tam Thuy.
My name is Sambal.
Because I believe everyone has the capacity to recover.
My name's Joyce, and I want to share my story and hope to inspire anyone who is going through a difficult time and know that it's okay to ask for help, even though it doesn't seem like anything matters. Nowadays, most people know me as the talkative one, but I wasn't always like this. I was shy, lonely, and an eager kid. And you probably won't guess now, but I was a very small, scrawny kid who had a lot of health issues since birth. For a long time, I feel like I didn't know where I belong, or even now, I still I'm searching for myself. But I do know the world is not a scary place, or at least not always a scary place, and it's not without hope. This world is what we make of it. Growing up, I lived in a typical home in Taiwan. I had a mom, a dad, and an older sister. Even though it's a typical home, I still felt lonely. I had a lot of imaginary friends, and I was shy, but I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to be around people. So at school, I enjoy going to school because it allowed me to be around other people and have exposure. My sister is 7 years older than me, so she's busy studying all the time and didn't really have time to play with me. Even when she did, I felt like I was like a burden, or it was just a doll that she could play with. She would put dresses on, put on makeup. So school became my escape, only place that I felt I could be myself. Even though academically I didn't do too well, I had trouble concentrating, I didn't do too well in tests, and so I turned to sports. But because my health issues, my doctor and my parents were concerned about participating. So I know this all sounds like a very normal childhood, but I always felt empty and lonely. So I often wish to have other siblings or other people around. I would cry myself to sleep for two reasons, mainly. Because when I was struggling in school, I really wished I was like my sister, who did really well, good grades. And the second reason was because the constant fighting between my parents. My dad always would yell about something. I felt really lonely. I didn't think anyone would understand because my sister didn't cry. Like every time I heard my dad yelling or them fighting, I would start crying, and I would look at my sister and she would okay, no big deal. So if my sister didn't understand, how would anyone else understand how I felt? So when I got a little older, I did find out from other kids that, their parents argue too. So at that time, I'm like, okay, well then it seems normal. So I just ignored it and think too much about it. And when I was 9, turning 10, we moved to the United States, and my dad had to stay behind to work. And so be my mom, my sister, and I. But after about a year, my sister went off to college. So it was just my mom and I. So moving to America was very exciting. New country, new experiences. And mainly I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about my mom being yelled at, and my parents fighting. So I thought, it would be wonderful. But little did I know, I can't escape the hell I was in. My dad, whenever he would come to visit during summer and winter breaks, I really dreaded those times because no matter how we prepare, we put on our best smiles, we make the house look wonderful, he will still be not happy. He will find something to yell at us about. I was too messy, my mom didn't put enough effort to welcome him, or I was not attentive enough. Throughout my teenage years, college years, and beginning of my professional life, I simply existed. and not truly lived. It really was due to all the experiences that I endured, I've seen. I didn't understand what living was. And I did experience my own domestic violence with my exes. Even though I knew I shouldn't be in those situations, I didn't have the courage to do anything about it until it was too late. It's true when people say, oh, you'll meet the one. I didn't believe it until I met my husband, who is truly kind and loving man, and he showed me what love is and could be. Despite having the love of my life, I was still struggling. I often felt lonely or just unhappy, or something was missing. I was constantly chasing for something. I didn't understand what I was going through. About 5 years ago, my husband and I decided to become foster parents, and it changed my life significantly. So part of the process, we have to take classes, and that was where I was exposed to things like childhood trauma, complex CPTSD, and I was lucky to receive some complementary therapy and was diagnosed with CPTSD. And I did at that time experience exposure therapy. I didn't really talk about it with anybody, except my husband. I didn't feel ashamed, but it just dealing with this stigma that I grew up with, so I didn't really tell anybody. And it was pretty difficult because exposure therapy, just a lot of going through the same thing over and over. But at the end of it, I was glad that I did it. So after that, I tried to seek other options, but at that time, my job didn't offer insurance and my husband's insurance didn't cover very much. So I ended up just abandoning the idea. I don't remember how long after, but I tried to seek out online therapy via BetterHelp. It was like a cheaper option. You pay per therapy, and so I tried it. However, my experience wasn't the greatest. The therapist was kind, but said, oh, you know a lot about therapy and the tools, so just make sure you use them, utilize them. And she even joked, you should go back to school and become a therapist myself. And I have always liked psychology, but it was daunting to me because how could I listen and take on other people's problems when I can't even figure out my own? And I have a hard time separating other people's problems with my own. So after that, I took another pause. However, with the stress of work and having to foster a teenage youth, which we didn't start out thinking to foster youth, but her story really hit me, and I was like, I was called to help. It's like a calling. But with all that stress going on, I felt like I was spiraling. I felt like I was failing at just many aspects of my life. I felt like there was a giant cloud over my head, and I just don't know why I couldn't overcome it. One day, sitting in therapy with my foster daughter, it hit me like I felt the positive energy of therapy. I felt I was heard, and I was just so surprised. I was really taken back because it's not therapy session for me. It was my, it was for my foster daughter, and it was kind of during a family session. But it was just like this bright light has shown this direction that I need to take. I have to take. So I knew I had to find my own so I don't take up my daughter's therapy time. So because after pandemic, costs rose significantly, and I was very specific with the therapist I wanted. My therapist friend's like, well, just look around. It's like dating. You have to try it out a few to find the right one. So I was very specific. I had a lot of questions to ask when I interviewed these therapists, and I did find a best fit one. And unfortunately, it was outside our network. So we had to pay out of pocket. So again, with the stigma and just like, oh my gosh, I have to pay more money to figure out my problems. So I asked my husband, and without hesitation, he said, of course, if it benefits me, it's worth it. So I really appreciate that. He has no idea. Because no one in my young life has shown me how to care for myself, and that it is so important to care for myself. So yeah, I think that's why I never really learned how to love myself, to set boundaries, and not always just give my life so easily and so wholeheartedly to everyone else but myself. My culture, the Asian culture, just the family I grew up in, mental health is not really a thing. It was never talked about. Or when it was mentioned or I heard it on TV or something, it was always characterized as weak or weakness. We never talked about our feelings as a family, or how something made us feel, or how it affected our behavior. So the most recent incident that made me felt discriminated against due to mental health was when we sought approval for adoption for my foster daughter. They have to do additional inquiries and interviews, and their line of questioning made me felt like I was incompetent. I wasn't fit to be a mother. They asked me very personal questions and wanted to talk to my therapist about me, which I'm like, what happened to HIPAA? Anyway, I even had to look and find people to also advocate with me to help them understand that seeing a therapist is a good thing. That anyone who goes to see a doctor, just like going to see a doctor for a routine checkup. And what really frustrated me about this is that they always tell foster parents, oh, take care of yourself. Self-care is emphasized, that, oh, you need to make sure you take care of yourself because these children that we care for been through a lot of trauma, so we need to make sure we are in a good position to take care of these kids. So why did they make me feel like they're punishing me for taking care of myself and that I was doing something wrong or shameful? Yeah, so I am still learning that self-care is not selfish. It was something that it was really hard for me to learn, to comprehend, to practice. Learning to set boundaries is extremely hard, and that it's okay to take time for myself, because throughout my working life, I would work till 3 or 4 in the afternoon and still not take a lunch break or even use the restroom, because I wanted to prove how good I am as a good worker. So now I'm learning, I know now how important it is to take care of myself, and these things are not selfish, it is necessary. There's still things I struggle every day that encounter difficulties to stand up or take care of myself, and just like doing this project, the fear of upsetting my family or how it will make my foster daughter feel. We face difficult decisions every day. So now I do know I need to take pauses throughout the day if I need it, go for a walk, because often I feel overwhelmed with numerous questions and requests. So I now learned I can ask for some alone time to center myself. I journal from time to time. I get my nails done regularly to allow myself to feel pretty, and just learning to set boundaries, and that it's okay to say no. And I don't have to put the needs of others before my own. And another difficult one is I don't need to explain myself to others. So yeah, I don't need to explain myself to others. So my recovery journey is far from over. In fact, it's just the beginning. And I am so glad I'm doing something about it. I want my kiddo to see that it's okay to talk about the past, because the past is exactly what it is. It's in the past. It can't hurt us anymore as long as we are determined to heal ourselves. This process comes from within. I was lucky enough to have the encouragement of my husband, but this process was initiated and continued because of my own desires. And even if you stop, it's okay. And it's okay to ask for help. So I want to make sure anyone who's feeling doubt or any negative thoughts understand they can start their own journey whenever and however they see fit. Thank you.